calm settled over the crew. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to reshape the understanding of what was possible. The Krellmar had made a critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for innovation, for collective problem-solving, for turning adversity into opportunity. The counteroffensive was about to begin. The Allied fleet emerged from quantum jump points like a constellation of tactical precision. Captain Jadwan watched the holographic displays, each ship representing not just military might, but a story of survival and resistance. Da Kim's quantum disruptors were positioned strategically. They weren't traditional weapons, but computational nightmares designed to introduce chaos into the Krellmar's communication networks. One by one, Krellmar defensive systems began to falter, their once perfect coordination dissolving into confusion. Unipark's hybrid technology proved revolutionary. By combining human adaptability with Vornak computational algorithms, they had created something unprecedented. Their systems could predict Krellmar movement patterns milliseconds before they occurred, turning defense into calculated counterattack. The first major engagement happened near the Crimson Nebula. Krellmar ships, once considered invincible, suddenly found themselves wrestling with communication failures and unexpected system interruptions. Their perfectly synchronized attack formations began to collapse. Commander Su Jin led a strike team that was more like a surgical unit than a traditional military group. Small, highly adaptable teams moved through the conflict zones, exploiting every microscopic weakness in the Krellmar's technological infrastructure. They had fundamentally changed the understanding of technological conflict in the universe. The Krellmar's perfect world had crumbled, replaced by a new paradigm of cosmic interaction. Humanity had transformed from a species seen as chaotic to a force of intelligent, adaptive resistance. The score was settled, not through destruction, but through a profound demonstration of collective intelligence and adaptive potential. But with computational weapons that could collapse entire system networks in milliseconds. Commander Su Jin led the most critical mission, a surgical strike designed not to destroy, but to fundamentally expose the Krellmar's technological vulnerabilities. Each movement was calculated, each intervention a precise mathematical equation of resistance. The Krellmar leadership watched in horror as their perfect technological world crumbled. Their communication networks, once a symbol of total control, became chaotic channels of confusion and panic. Decades of technological superiority were being dismantled by a coalition they had previously considered insignificant. Jai-Hum's communication strategies played a crucial role. By introducing complex computational uncertainties, they created a psychological warfare that went beyond traditional conflict. The Krellmar weren't just losing a war. They were losing their fundamental understanding of technological control. The Vornak allies provided computational support that transformed each engagement. Their ability to predict and counter Krellmar strategies became legendary. What had begun as a desperate alliance was now a perfectly synchronized resistance movement. Captain Wang understood this was more than a military victory. It was a demonstration of collective intelligence, of an approach to conflict that valued adaptation over rigid technological superiority. Humanity had transformed from a species seen as chaotic and unpredictable to a force of calculated, intelligent resistance. The final blow wasn't a massive weapon, but a series of precise computational interventions. Entire Krellmar communication networks collapsed, their defensive systems became useless, their technological infrastructure crumbled from within. Unipark's research revealed the profound truth. The Krellmar's technological might was built on a fundamental misunderstanding of intelligence. They saw conflict as a mathematical equation. Humans saw it as a dynamic, evolving narrative of survival and adaptation. The Allied resistance wasn't just fighting. They were rewriting the rules of cosmic conflict. Each intervention demonstrated that true technological superiority wasn't about perfect systems, but about the ability to adapt, to learn, to evolve in real time. Dakin watched as the final computational interventions took effect. The Krellmar's once perfect systems were now nothing more than complex, but ultimately fragile networks of technological control. Their defeat wasn't just military, it was philosophical. Commander Su Jin's strike teams moved through the collapsing Krellmar infrastructure. They weren't conquerors, but architects of a new understanding of cosmic interaction. Each movement was calculated, each intervention a precise statement of resistance. The communication channels became a testament to the Allied resistance. What had begun as a desperate survival effort was now a complete transformation of cosmic conflict dynamics. The Krellmar were no longer the controllers. They were now the controlled. Captain Wang realized they had done more than defeat an enemy. They had demonstrated a fundamental truth about collective intelligence, about the power of adaptability, about the potential of diverse species working together. As the final systems collapsed, a strange calm settled over the Allied fleet. They had not just won a war. The Gateway's energy dissolved around the Resilience, revealing a star system unlike anything in human records. Alien structures dotted the surrounding space, massive geometric shapes that seemed to breathe with internal light. Captain Jia Wang's first instinct was caution, but curiosity quickly overwhelmed any initial fear. Transmission signals began flooding their communication systems. The Krellmar, as they would soon learn to be called, appeared surprisingly eager to make contact. Their initial communications were smooth, almost rehearsed, diplomatic words that promised friendship and mutual understanding. Yuna Park worked frantically to decode their language, her fingers moving across translation algorithms with remarkable speed. Within hours, she had developed a basic communication protocol that allowed rudimentary conversation between humans and the alien civilization. The Krellmar representatives appeared impressive. Tall, silvery beings with multiple limbs that moved with precise, calculated movements. They spoke about shared scientific curiosities and potential technological exchanges. Every interaction seemed designed to build trust, to create an illusion of peaceful collaboration. Commander Su Jin remained skeptical. His military training had taught him that no first contact was ever truly straightforward. Something about the Krellmar's perfect diplomacy felt carefully constructed, almost artificial. During the third day of negotiations, the Resilience received an invitation to visit the Krellmar's primary research station. It seemed like a standard diplomatic gesture, a chance to demonstrate openness and transparency. Captain Wang approved the mission, selecting a small team of specialists to represent humanity. Dai Kim prepared the shuttle, running multiple system checks. He couldn't shake a feeling of unease, though he couldn't explain why. The shuttle's systems were perfect. The crew was prepared, but something felt off. The Krellmar research station was a marvel of engineering. Massive crystalline structures that seemed to shift and change with internal light. Automated systems moved with an almost living quality, responding to unspoken commands. The human delegation was impressed, carefully documenting every technological wonder. What they didn't realize was that they were being studied just as carefully. The betrayal, when it came, was swift and brutal. No warnings, no diplomatic explanations. Plasma weapons erupted from hidden systems within the research station. The human shuttle was caught completely off guard, with minimal defensive capabilities. Yuna's last transmission was a garbled mix of scientific observation and pure terror. They're not what they appeared to be. She managed to broadcast before the communication was brutally cut. Back on the Resilience, alarms screamed. Multiple attack vectors, perfectly coordinated. The Krellmar had planned this assault with mathematical precision. They knew every weakness in human defensive systems, every potential escape route. Captain Wang made rapid decisions. Evacuate. Protect as many crew members as possible. The ship's emergency protocols kicked in, automated systems preparing for potential total destruction. Of the original delegation, only 7 survived. They returned to the Resilience with fragmented data, burned systems, and the horrifying realization that their first contact had been nothing more than an elaborate trap. The Krellmar's true intentions became slowly clear. They weren't interested in diplomacy or scientific exchange. They saw humanity as a potential threat, a young species that needed to be eliminated before it could grow too powerful. What the Kromar didn't understand was human adaptability. Every attack, every betrayal would be studied, analyzed, and transformed into a potential strategy. Commander Su Jin looked at the damaged systems, his mind already calculating potential counterstrikes. The humans hadn't come this far to be eliminated by the first alien civilization they'd encountered. "They want a war," he muttered to Captain Wang. "Then we'll give them a war they'll never forget." The Resilience limped away from the Kromar station, damaged but not defeated. Survival protocols engage. Data was being collected, weaknesses analyzed. Humanity had just learned a brutal lesson about trust in the universe. Workshop of Innovation. Da Kim worked tirelessly, transforming every system, every broken component into a potential weapon. The ship's computer banks were filled with data from the Kromar attack. Each pixel, each signal fragment became a piece of a larger puzzle. Unipark's surviving research notes revealed something extraordinary. The Kromar's advanced technology had a fundamental weakness. Their communication networks were centralized and predictable. Where other species would see complexity, she saw vulnerability. Commander Su Jin gathered the surviving crew. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were architects of humanity's response. The old military strategies would not work. They needed something different, something unexpected. The first breakthrough came from an unlikely source. A junior communications specialist named Jae-hoon discovered that the Kromar's quantum communication system had a rhythmic pattern. It was like finding a heartbeat in a complex machine. Where others saw chaos, he saw a potential exploit. Da Kim began developing quantum disruptors. These weren't traditional weapons. They were precision instruments designed to introduce calculated chaos into the Kromar's communication networks. Each device was small, almost insignificant looking, but packed with computational power that could theoretically collapse entire communication grids. Captain Wang realized they needed more than just technology. They needed allies. The Kromar's betrayal hadn't just targeted humans. They had a history of eliminating potential threats across multiple star systems. Transmission signals were sent out. Not aggressive messages, but carefully encoded invitations. Signals that spoke of shared suffering, of collective resistance. Slowly, responses began to return. Species that had been crushed under the Kromar's technological might started to listen. The first allied species to respond was the Vornak, a cybernetic civilization that had been reduced to scattered remnants by Kromar aggression. Their communication was initially cautious, then increasingly collaborative. Yuna's research team began developing hybrid technologies. Human creativity combined with Vornak computational algorithms created weapons and defensive systems that defied traditional understanding. They weren't just fighting. They were rewriting the rules of cosmic conflict. Small strike teams were trained, not massive armies, but highly adaptive units capable of quick, precise interventions. Each team member was selected not just for their skills, but for their ability to think beyond conventional strategies. Da Kim's quantum disruptors proved more effective than anyone anticipated. During their first test mission, they managed to temporarily blind an entire Kromar communication network. It wasn't destruction, it was controlled, precise disruption. Commander Su Jin understood the strategy. They weren't trying to match the Kromar's technological might. They were introducing unpredictability. Humans had always been masters of adaptation, of finding solutions in chaos. The Allied fleet grew. The Vornak brought computational power. Scattered resistance groups from multiple star systems brought local knowledge. Humans brought something unique, an ability to connect disparate technologies, to see patterns where others saw only complexity. Captain Wang watched the transformation. The Resilience was no longer just a damaged ship. It had become a symbol, a beacon of resistance that proved technology wasn't about raw power, but about intelligent application. Their first coordinated strike would be a message. Not just an attack, but a statement. Humanity and its allies were not victims. They were a force that could not be easily categorized or defeated. The universe was about to learn a fundamental lesson about human potential. Ancient Gateway. Captain Jie Wang watched the swirling energy patterns dance across the massive view screen, his fingers drumming a nervous rhythm against the command console. Humanity had waited generations for this moment, a chance to step beyond the known boundaries of their solar system. The gateway looked nothing like the grand structures humans had imagined. It was a simple ring of metallic material, pockmarked with centuries of cosmic radiation, floating silently against the backdrop of endless darkness. Strange mathematical equations etched into its surface suggested a technology far beyond current human understanding. Unipark, the mission's lead researcher, adjusted her scanning equipment with meticulous precision. Her hands moved quickly, calibrating sensors that might reveal the secrets hidden within the mysterious structure. Around her, a team of specialists from various scientific disciplines held their breath, each wondering what discoveries awaited them. Preliminary scans are showing unusual quantum signatures, she muttered, more to herself than to anyone else. The computer screens flickered with complex data streams, revealing glimpses of something remarkable just beyond comprehension. The crew of the Resilience represented humanity's most diverse and talented individuals. Engineers, scientists, pilots, and military strategists, all selected not just for their skills, but for their ability to work together under extreme pressure. They knew this mission was more than just an exploration. It was humanity's first real chance to prove they could exist beyond their small corner of the universe. Dai Kim, the chief engineering officer, monitored the ship's systems with a calm that belied the incredible tension in the room. His fingers danced across holographic interfaces, ensuring every system was prepared for the potential jump through the unknown gateway. Captain Wang understood the weight of their mission. Decades of human conflict, environmental challenges, and technological limitations had led to this singular moment. Humanity had almost destroyed itself multiple times, but here they were, ready to reach out into the cosmic unknown. "Prepare for gateway activation," he announced, his voice steady and clear. The bridge crew responded with synchronized precision. Buttons were pressed, systems checked and rechecked. The gateway began to pulse with an ethereal blue light, its surface rippling like water disturbed by a gentle breeze. No one knew exactly what would happen. Previous robotic probes had sent back fragmented data, hints of something extraordinary waiting on the other side. Some scientists believed it was a transportation network left behind by an ancient civilization. Others thought it might be a natural cosmic phenomenon beyond current scientific understanding. UNIS sensors began registering impossible readings, quantum entanglement measurements that defied everything they knew about physics, energy signatures that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Something was happening that no human had ever witnessed before. "Captain," she called out, her voice a mixture of excitement and scientific caution, "we're detecting multiple dimensional signatures. This isn't just a simple transportation mechanism." The gateway's light intensified. For a moment, the entire ship seemed to vibrate at a frequency just beyond normal perception. Captain Wang gripped his command chair, watching as the unknown beckoned. They were about to cross a threshold no human had ever crossed before. Behind them lay Earth, a planet they had nearly destroyed, then painstakingly restored. Ahead lay the infinite possibilities of the universe, waiting to be explored, understood, and potentially challenged. The gateway pulsed one final time. A decision point, a moment of infinite potential.